ഇപ്പോൾ കേരളയിൽ സംവാദ പരിപാടി നടന്നു വരികയാണ്. അതിലേക്കാണ് മിഡ്ഡേ ന്യൂസ് ആദ്യം പോകുന്നത്.
Then now if we come around and say that government of India also has taken a wrong decision, so that somehow I feel that I am not that big to challenge the government of the country. After having this thing about the telco, this thing, then it was decided that we will develop our own high-speed train on the broad gauge. We have developed Vande Bharat, which is capable of 160 kmph commercial speed. Now the second lot of Vande Bharat, this was a trial prototype. Second lot of Vande Bharat which has been tendered, that is 180 kilometers commercial speed. But if you see the timetable, there was a tender for private operation of passenger trains last year. It has been discharged because of lack of response and this thing. There it was mandated that train will be Vande Bharat type. But if you see the timetable given for the Vande Bharat type train, the speeds were ranging from 90 kmph to 100 kmph only, the average commercial speed. So this call has to be taken. I am only highlighting what are the issues. It is very good that this kind of, in foreign countries, I have seen this kind of mass consultation for any infrastructure project. But in India, this is the first time I am attending this kind of forum where people are reading the DPR and they are coming up with this thing. So this is not done. So it is very good and it is our duty to bring about the knowledge and this thing. Regarding the, I already covered that doubling and this thing. You tell me what the time I have. So, this one question is being raised time and again, that how 80,000 passengers will come ridership in the initial period. My point is, if suppose 30,000 passengers come, should we not make it? It takes time to build up the ridership. People changing the mode, the line will be there, but intermodal, whatever we may plan, but intermodal integration will take time. Intermodal integration only starts when we start facing the problem, when people start traveling. By computer simulation, you cannot really go into the minds of the people and find out how will he travel. So there is, I don't think that this is such a big point that 80,000 people will come in the initial time, or it will take 3 years or 4 years to build up the 80,000 ridership. In such type of infrastructure, we have to see that O&M costs should be covered. And for covering the O&M cost of this kind of infrastructure, we will require 30 to 35,000 ridership. If you start thinking that initially itself I will start paying back the money, then these projects can never give you, you need at least 10-year moratorium and 25 years tenure of the loan. That kind of loan is not available in the domestic market. For that kind of loan, you have to go to the multinational developmental banks. Because in India, all Indian financial instruments are limited to 15 years. Moratorium is not more than 5 years. Number one. Number two, if Ministry of Railway sanctions you the project, if you don't borrow the money, then Ministry of Railway does not have the capacity now. And they borrow the money from LIC and all, through IRFC bonds, where the cost of money is 8.5%. While these multinational banks, in accounting for the hedging, the cost of money is 4%, 4.5%. And these infrastructure projects, where payback period is 50 years, this 4.5% and 8% difference, it can make or break the project. Now comes a question of technology. Thrusting upon these funding agencies, they thrust upon the technology. World Bank does not talk of the technology at all. They don't even put the restriction on your tendering process. You can tender anywhere. Say you can even give contract, purchase the material from the countries where who are not member of the World Bank. Large number of countries are the member of the World Bank. Asian Development Bank, KFW, these banks, these bilateral and multilateral banks, they do not put any condition on this thing. Their only condition is, irrespective of your country's rule and law, if you are taking funding from us, robust EIA and SIA, environmental impact assessment and social impact assessment, has to be there. So in that regard, I think Dr. Menon should support that we should go for multilateral funding, because if it is a railway funding, I can tell you, no EIA, no SIA, whether project is done or not. In your doubling project, when we acquire the land, do we do any SIA? No, we don't do, because I am exempt. If I am doing the project from railways money, I am exempt. So multilateral bank, only JICA has been insisting upon the step loan. JICA and DFCC, Western DFCC, they insisted that rails will be procured from Japan and rolling stock should be procured from Japan. Finally, we said, we will procure from Japan, but you will have to match the price. They could not match the price and they have relaxed the condition. In Mumbai, Ahmedabad also, JICA is relaxing the condition. It is because I am upgrading the speed, so I have to import the rolling stock. That is why Make in India is costly. If I have to run, I am sure that 180 km, 200 km Bharat comes on the broad gauge. Same Vande Bharat will be possible to be converted in standard gauge also. Gauge per se doesn't add to the cost. Making viaduct adds to the cost. Making ballast track adds to the cost. But gauge per se doesn't make a difference in the cost. Gauge gives me a flexibility in the sense that I can deploy the leased rolling stock. I don't have to buy the rolling stock. Say, traffic is very flexible. When we buy so many trains. Hyderabad Metro, they bought 49 trains, and finally the scope was curtailed. They could not deploy initially. So these are the things. We can buy some basic rolling stock and then we can augment it by the lease. These are complicated matters which can be decided this way or that way. It does not affect. That standard gauge, which we said, gauge per se does not make difference in cost now. 20 years back it made. Because 20 years back we had to import the rail, we had to import the pads. Today, if you do standard gauge or broad gauge for the same speed, it will cost the same. It is because I am upgrading the speed, so I have to import the rolling stock. That is why Make in India is costly. If I have to run,
its feasibility or viability. As a one quick response on, there is a growing doubt or misgiving, apprehension, you would like to call it, that we are being thrust upon by an obsolescent kind of technology when it comes to bundled conditional offers.
The intention of the lender is that I give the material.
In other words, there is a popular perception that the lender holds the handle. So what are your responses to that observation and that thinking?
You see, they in railway technology particularly, and in defense also, the intention of the lender is that I give the material at a cheaper cost or a comparable cost and then fleece them in the spares. So that is where the real problem lies. Say, when we said that we will not buy the locomotives from Japan unless they match the price, they could have matched the price. But if they don't give me the technology, then I am sunk. They can charge anything for the spares. These are a good negotiating skills. We cannot throw the project only because these are business interests. So, they will certainly try to, if I am pliable, if I am weak, they will certainly try to take advantage of that. NCRTC, the national, which is making a standard gauge semi-high speed project from Delhi to Meerut. Now they have put in a condition for the locomotive also that in 5 years time, 75% indigenous content has to be there. Now tomorrow if somebody changes that and gets away with it, we can't do anything. It's really very difficult to holistically address this issue unless we have ethics and integrity.
തുടരുകയാണ്. സുബോധ് കുമാർ ജെയിനാണ് മുൻ റെയിൽവേ ബോർഡ് അംഗമാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ സംസാരിച്ചത്. മുൻപ് RVG മേനോൻ സംസാരിച്ചു. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ പാനലിൽ 4 അംഗങ്ങളാണ് ഉള്ളത്. അവർ ഓരോരുത്തരായി സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നതാണ് നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ കണ്ടത്.